Mornings and I have never gotten along, but 3 days before Christmas, 2020, I made an exception. My mission was simple: get to Dollar General the second they opened, grab my sugar fix, and get out before the holiday chaos could swallow me whole. I had run out of all my comfort foods during a Netflix binge the night before, and with Christmas approaching, I needed to restock. My shopping list wasn't complicated: Dr. Pepper, Twinkies, some Toll House ice cream cups, and Hershey's miniatures. Simple pleasures for the holiday season. Living alone has its perks, especially during holidays. No judgment about my eating habits, no forced family gatherings, just me, my snacks, and whatever Christmas movie marathon was playing on TV. That was my idea of a perfect holiday. I rolled out of bed that morning, threw on whatever was closest: my high school hoodie, pajama bottoms, and tennis shoes. I didn't even bother changing out of my Cleveland Cavaliers jersey that I slept in. It wasn't like I was trying to impress anyone at 8 a.m. at Dollar General. When I arrived, the store had just opened 3 minutes earlier. Perfect timing. I grabbed a shopping basket and headed straight for the snack aisle, mentally calculating how many days my sugar stash would last me. Unfortunately, my peaceful shopping trip lasted exactly 3 minutes before she walked in. A woman with the classic bob haircut that screamed, "I'm about to make someone's day miserable." I tried to ignore her and focus on deciding between regular and holiday Twinkies when I felt someone grab my arm. The woman grabbed me and demanded that I help her with her shopping, assuming I was an employee who should be assisting customers so close to Christmas. I tried to gently remove her hand from my arm and explained that I didn't work there. I told her I was just another customer trying to do my shopping. Now, it's worth noting that Dollar General employees wear a specific uniform. Black polo shirt with the company logo, yellow name tag with the company name, and their name on a white sticker, black or khaki dress slacks, and tennis shoes. I was in a hoodie, pajama bottoms, and tennis shoes. Not even remotely similar. Instead of apologizing, she spun me around to face her and insisted that I help her. She ordered me to stop touching products and do my job, emphasizing that customers should come first. I was starting to get irritated now. I raised my voice and repeated that I didn't work there. I made it clear that I was a customer like her and wasn't wearing their uniform. She crossed her arms and looked at me with pure contempt. She accused me of lying and claimed I was covering up my uniform to avoid helping customers who paid my wages. At this point, I was beyond annoyed. I took off my hoodie to reveal my white Cleveland Cavaliers jersey, a Mark Price jersey I bought back in 2019 as a throwback to my favorite player from the 90s. I shouted at her, pointing out that I was clearly wearing a Cavaliers jersey, not a store uniform. I added that even if I did work there, I wouldn't help her on my day off, and if I was working, I still wouldn't help someone who treated me like garbage. She gasped dramatically like I'd just insulted her entire family. She threatened to find my manager and have me fired for refusing to help a customer. She stormed off toward the front of the store. I knew this would end badly for her, but I didn't care. I just wanted to finish my shopping and go home. I rushed to grab everything on my list before the inevitable confrontation. 5 minutes later, she returned with the store manager in tow. What she didn't know was that Carl and I had known each other since childhood. He was 3 years older than me, and we grew up on the same street. The woman complained to Carl that I had refused to help her and was being rude just days before Christmas. She criticized me for preferring to buy unhealthy snacks rather than helping a loyal customer. Carl looked at me, then back at her, trying not to smile. He explained that he had known me for 31 years and that I had never been rude to anyone. He mentioned my restaurant work experience of nearly 10 years without incident. He clarified that I wasn't an employee but a regular customer, unlike her. He then ordered her to leave the store immediately. Her face turned red, but she wasn't backing down. She insisted that she would just ignore me and buy what she came for. She threatened Carl's job if he didn't let her shop, claiming this was the only store within 5 minutes of her house that currently stocked the product she needed. Carl was never one to be intimidated. He pulled out his cell phone and repeated his demand for her to leave. He warned that if he completed the call, she would be arrested for loitering and would be trespassed from the property. She glared at both of us, huffed dramatically, and stormed out empty-handed. Whatever she desperately needed, she didn't get it that day. I finished my shopping in peace, checking out with my case of Dr. Pepper, 2 boxes of Twinkies, 3 personal-sized cups of Toll House ice cream, and 3 bags of Hershey's assorted miniatures. Honestly, best Christmas ever. This week has been nothing but stress. I found out I need surgery on my knee from an old volleyball injury that never healed right. Years of being on my feet as a nurse finally caught up with me. The doctor scheduled it for Friday, but first I needed blood work and a urine sample. Let me tell you, having blood drawn always makes me feel woozy, but duty calls. After my hospital visit, I decided to stop by the supermarket to grab ingredients for tacos. My kids love taco night, and I wanted to have a nice family dinner before I'm laid up recovering. The doctor told me to take it easy, so I figured a quick grocery run wouldn't hurt. I was in the meat section picking up ground beef when I heard a small sniffle. Looking down, I saw a tiny little girl, couldn't have been more than 3 years old, with tears and snot streaming down her face. She was wearing a pink plaid dress and clutching a pacifier, looking absolutely terrified. She kept asking where her mama was in a trembling voice, clearly distressed and lost. My heart immediately broke for her. Having raised 3 kids of my own, I knew that panic all too well. My own children had wandered off in stores more times than I could count, giving me mini heart attacks each time. I bent down carefully, my knee was already killing me, and spoke softly to her. I asked if she had lost her mommy, to which she responded with a small nod, her bottom lip quivering. I gently told her it was okay and that we would find her mother. I suggested we go to the front desk where they could help us, and offered my hand. She didn't say much, just reached for my hand. I carefully walked her to the customer service desk where 2 young women were working. I politely explained to the staff that the little girl seemed to have gotten separated from her mother and asked if they could make an announcement. The staff was incredibly helpful. They immediately made an announcement over the PA system that a young girl in a pink plaid dress was at the customer service desk looking for her mother. I stayed with her, holding her little hand and reassuring her that everything would be okay. About 5 minutes later, I saw a woman storming toward the desk. At first, I thought she was just worried sick about her child. That's how I always felt when my kids wandered off. But instead of rushing to embrace her daughter, she angrily walked right up to me. She immediately started yelling at me, demanding to know how I dared to talk to or touch her child, and asking who I thought I was. The little girl immediately shrunk behind my legs, frightened by her mother's outburst. I tried to explain that her daughter had approached me, crying and looking for her. I mentioned that I was a mother myself and was just trying to help, but she wouldn't listen. Instead, she escalated her tirade, calling me fat and ugly, questioning what kind of mother I would make based on my appearance. She threatened to have me arrested and sued for everything I owned just for touching her child. I was too exhausted from the blood draw to engage in a screaming match, and honestly, I was in shock. I've encountered rude people before, but this was something else entirely. I attempted once more to explain that her daughter had been lost and crying, and I had simply brought her to the service desk, but she cut me off and told me to shut up. She continued with her threats about having me arrested and sued. By this point, the poor little girl was covering her ears and crying again, watching her mother's outburst with wide, frightened eyes. Then, to my horror, the woman turned her rage on the customer service staff. She insulted them for their jobs, calling them stupid minimum wage losers and demanding if they knew who she was. She started grabbing items from the nearby display, a roll of aluminum foil, garbage bags, a package of pork chops, and even a carton of milk, hurling them at the staff while continuing her tirade. She boasted about making more money in a week than they made in a year, and threatened to have the whole place shut down. She then tried to climb over the counter to grab it, one of the younger staff members' glasses. That's when the security guard finally intervened, along with the store manager. They called the police while trying to calm the situation. Through all of this, the woman never once acknowledged her crying child. Not a hug, not a word about being worried, not even a mild scolding for wandering off. The little girl just stood there, terrified and confused. When the police arrived, I gave my statement. Several other customers who witnessed the incident did the same. The officers were horrified by the woman's behavior, especially since it was all caught on the store's security cameras. As I was leaving, I saw the woman being handcuffed and placed in a police car, still screaming threats. A man who identified himself as the child's father arrived shortly after, looking mortified. He gathered the little girl in his arms and apologized profusely to everyone, explaining that the mother hadn't been well and thanking me for helping his daughter. The next day, my son went back to the store to get the tomatoes I'd forgotten in all the chaos. He told me the staff told him that the woman was charged with assault, disorderly conduct, and child endangerment. The father had apparently been trying to get custody of their daughter for months due to the mother's increasingly erratic behavior. As I prepare for my surgery tomorrow, I can't help but think about that little girl. I hope she's okay now, safe with her father. I work at a marketing firm downtown, and most days I bring lunch from home, but occasionally I need to run errands during my break, and there's this outdoor shopping center about 10 minutes away that has everything I need. A couple years ago, an In-N-Out burger opened there. If you don't know, In-N-Out is like the holy grail of fast food in some areas. When they first opened, the lines were absolutely insane. We're talking hours of waiting. Even now, the drive-through line regularly spills out onto the streets. Since day one, In-N-Out established a specific traffic pattern. Cars are supposed to wait in the center lane to turn left into the parking lot. This prevents people from holding up traffic by stopping to turn right or trying to drive straight across from the opposite side of the street, which is exactly where I happened to be shopping. So there I was, finishing up my errands, with about 15 minutes left on my lunch break. When I approached my car, I noticed an unusually long line of cars backed up at the stop sign near the exit. This shopping center has a pretty complicated layout with one-way lanes and specific exit points. If you pick the wrong path, you can end up forced to leave in the completely wrong direction. I got in my car and drove toward the exit, joining the line of waiting vehicles. After a few minutes, I noticed something odd. The car at the front of the line hadn't moved at all, but somehow there were only two cars behind them now. As I watched, the SUV directly behind the front car actually pulled up onto the curb to go around them, and the next car turned around to find another exit. Confused, I pulled forward to see what was happening. That's when I saw it. The In-N-Out line across the street had reached all the way to the road. Cars were properly lined up in the left turn lane, waiting for their chance to enter the driveway. And then there was this absolute piece of trash in front of me. The driver had kids in the back seat and a passenger in the front. Both adults had their elbows casually resting on the door as if they had all the time in the world. They were completely oblivious to the traffic jam they were causing. I sat there, baffled, as I felt rage begin to build in my chest and spread up the back of my neck. For over a minute I watched as openings in traffic came and went, but they didn't move. They didn't even seem to be paying attention. I couldn't believe someone could be so self-centered, just sitting there when there was obviously no way for them to cross. There was already a long line waiting and traffic was busy in both directions, yet they were completely oblivious to the cars behind them, struggling to find a way out. I was too close to pull out, and there were cars behind me blocking me in. But I also wasn't about to let this clown keep this up. I'm sure my dash cam caught some really obnoxious outbursts from me at that moment. I shouted angrily in my car, demanding that they move. My words were filled with frustration as I yelled at them through my windshield, even though I knew they couldn't hear me. I could see the woman at the front of the In-N-Out line looking over at them with an expression that matched how I was feeling. From what I could see through their back windshield, they were settled in and very comfortable, seemingly planning to wait until someone felt forced to let them cut ahead in line. I resorted to the only thing I could do short of getting out of my car and embarrassing myself worse. I laid on the horn, and I didn't let off. It was so loud and unending. It's actually not easy to keep a horn going longer than a few seconds without it cutting off. If you're ever in this situation, be prepared to keep a lot of even pressure on that thing, and maybe use two hands. We were right in front of a Chipotle during the lunch hour. Shoppers, cars, and businesses were all around us. Everyone stopped what they were doing and turned to look. The people waiting in their cars for In and Out were all staring at the lead car now, and some were laughing. I was still seeing red. After about 12 seconds, which is an absolute eternity when you're drawing that much annoying attention to yourself, I saw the driver in front of me start to panic. They looked all around frantically, suddenly turned on their blinker, and pulled out to find the actual end of the line before driving off. I saw a couple of smiles from other drivers as I turned the other way to leave, but I was too tunnel visioned to enjoy any embarrassment that might have finally occurred to them. The next time I went back to that shopping center, I noticed they'd added new signs clearly marking how to properly line up for In and Out. I'd like to think my little horn symphony played some small part in that. Since I was 9, I've been the responsible one, taking care of my mother with borderline personality disorder and codependency issues, looking after my little brother who's just a year younger than me, and making sure our dog was fed, walked, and loved. By 12, I had given up on life. The world seemed like a cruel hellhole where children became parents to their parents. I kept going through the motions because what other choice did I have? In 2019, my mother announced we were moving to a hotel temporarily, just for 3 days. She promised. She put our belongings into storage units and made me and my brother do all the actual moving while she handled more important things. I asked if she was serious about making us move everything ourselves. She snapped back about not giving her attitude and that we were old enough to handle it. She always treated us like adults when it suited her needs, but like children when we wanted independence. We had to move during a hurricane. The apartment manager gave us 3 extra days out of pity, but those days were filled with constant yelling, tears, and exhaustion. We carried furniture through pouring rain and winds that nearly knocked us over. At the hotel, I realized I'd forgotten to pack toothbrushes in our suitcases. Between the panic of moving during a storm and being told it was just temporary, basic necessities slipped my mind. My mother scolded me for forgetting something so simple and complained about having to spend more money even though she'd given us almost no time to pack properly. 3 days turned into weeks, then months. We ended up spending 6 full months in that cramped hotel room with 2 beds and nowhere to put our limited possessions. My brother broke first. After 3 months, he told my mother he couldn't take it anymore. She accused him of being ungrateful for all her sacrifices. He fired back that everything was always about her needs and feelings. After a massive fight that involved screaming and things being thrown across the small room, he called our dad and left with only the clothes he was wearing. I stayed behind, convinced that things could change if I just loved her enough and tried harder. That's what she always told me when things went wrong, that I simply wasn't trying hard enough. After turning 17, I finally accepted the painful truth that nothing would change. The hotel was still our temporary home, our belongings still locked away, and my mother still putting herself first. I decided to move in with my dad too, but unlike my brother, I wouldn't leave empty-handed after all those years of being her unpaid caretaker. My mother reminded me I had promised to stay until 18 and accused me of abandoning her like everyone else in her life. I acknowledged what I had promised but explained that I couldn't keep living this way. She angrily told me to just take my clothes and go, assuming that's all I would take. She didn't know I had been planning this for weeks. I secretly moved things from the storage units to my dad's place. Movie collections that belonged to me and my brother, books we loved growing up, small mementos from our childhood, things that mattered to us but that she wouldn't miss among her mountains of hoarded possessions. Every visit to the storage units, I'd slip something into my backpack or pockets. Small items at first, then gradually larger ones. My father asked if I was sure she'd never notice. I assured him she had 3 storage units overflowing with stuff she never looked at. She couldn't possibly keep track of it all. She visited us several times after I moved out. Our rescued movie collection was displayed openly on shelves in my dad's living room. She walked right past them multiple times, never once recognizing these were the same movies she had locked away. The things she claimed to value so much, she couldn't even identify when they were right in front of her. My brother couldn't believe she didn't notice or say anything about the movies. I pointed out that she doesn't even remember what she has because her possessions were never about enjoyment, just accumulation. It might seem petty to some, but to us, it was victory in a battle we'd been fighting our whole lives. We reclaimed pieces of our childhood from someone who had taken so much from us, our time, our energy, our chance at normal teenage years. Those movies and mementos weren't just objects, they were symbols of the normal life we should have had all along. Now, when we have movie nights at Dad's place, we use the collection I rescued one piece at a time. My mother still doesn't know, and probably never will. She's too busy filling her fourth storage unit to notice what's missing from the first three. Meanwhile, we're finally building the life and memories we always deserved.